All right, guys, it's spring 2023 here. I don't know what the future holds, but right now in spring 2023, I believe this. I believe that smart sprinkler systems fall into two categories. The first category is the conventional system. Currently in my garage, I have a Hunter system that connects to our Wi-Fi. It knows what the weather is. I could set that thing to sprinkle the lawn anytime that it hasn't rained in a while. I could set it to sprinkle every like 13 days if I want to. I could set every zone on its own little thing. This is a pretty smart system. If you really take the extra mile, go the extra mile. Some of these systems, Orbit has the Beehive. There's a handful of other systems out there, but they're all smart in their own ways. The second type of smart system is one of those, we're going to call them robot systems. This is kind of the new age thing for this time frame, this part of history. For a good while, there have been smart vacuum cleaners that will go around your house, vacuuming up everything all on their own. For a couple years now, there have been smart lawnmowers that will just zigzag across your lawn every night while you're sleeping, cutting the grass so that you don't have to ever think about it. These days, 2023, we have new smart sprinkler systems out there, and there are a few brands. Otto comes to mind. I have Irrigreen, or at least I am installing Irrigreen into my lawn. Irrigreen is smart in the fact that it has all of those Wi-Fi connectivity features that have been around for the past 5 to 10 years. But they have included the fanciness. Let's call it the fanciness of being able to spray 12 feet this way, 20 feet that way, 13 feet this way, 5 feet this way, 30 feet that way. They can go around and contour themselves to exactly the scenario that you have in your yard, which is fantastic for people who have curves in their yard. A lot of people have like a tree ring in the middle of their lawn. Conventional sprinklers spray in straight lines, squares, rectangles, things like that, 90-degree arcs, but they can't go around curves, like outward curves, without having overspray. These modern systems, you can tailor the direction or the length of each spray pattern. I mean, it'll spray everything in the lawn all the way across whatever you want, so long as you have the water pressure to support it. So I'm putting this Irrigreen system in because my front lawn has lots of curves. Take a look at it. Boom, look at those curves. No, just kidding. This is the only, this is one of two right angles. So up here, I've got a right angle. Here's a right angle. Let me zoom out here, move my hand out of the way. But then, so from here, we come over towards the front door, and then it starts curving back and around this like lumpy out, and it curves in, and then it curves back out, and then we have more of a 90-degree angle here, along with a slight curvature. Hi, car. And a light curvature along the sidewalk. So conventional systems have a head, sprinkler heads everywhere, just my shadow there. But they're all around. So some of them, they either if there's a sprinkler there, it'll spray this way and it'll miss all of this business, or it will overspray over here and it'll get all of this so that it gets everything else. So that's not smart. So before my wife and I decided to upgrade our irrigation system here at our new house to one of the really smart systems, the ones that can contour its spray pattern to exactly what we have and what we need in our yard, we can now put one single sprinkler right in the middle and spray everywhere instead of having a whole bunch of them all around the edges. But before we did that, before we decided to do that, we tested our water pressure to make sure that we had enough pressure to be able to throw water from one head all the way to the edge, which is not normal for typical around the edge of the lawn sprinklers. And we also tested the flow rate, because if you have one single sprinkler in the middle watering an entire 1,000 square foot or 1,500 square foot lawn space, as opposed to 10 sprinklers doing the same thing from the perimeter, a lot of water volume has to be coming through the single sprinkler head to get through everything. So we did a bucket test over at our spigot. We found out that we have somewhere around 14 gallons of water per minute coming through our irrigation lines. We did a PSA test to verify that we were in that 40 to 60 PSI range, which is necessary to be able to throw water far enough to get it from the middle of a normal yard to the edge of a normal yard. Then we mapped out exactly how we were going to put this stuff in the lawn. So I want to show you my dry run here, what I'm planning on doing just before. So I'm about ready to do some trenching into the lawn. But before you do the trenching into the lawn, if you're gonna invest the money in a system like this, I don't care if you're like building a new house or doing a full renovation or just trying to install a sprinkler system on an old house for the first time, whatever the heck it is that you're doing, you kind of got to map this stuff out. So you map it out, you figure out if it's going to work, and then once you get it, it makes zero sense to dig and trench and place pipes just to see if it's going to work. I'm doing this, let's see if it works, above ground before I go and dig into the ground and actually put it all there. So let's go over to my main water line first. A few weeks ago I had a plumber come out, and I dug this out right here, and a plumber came in and changed our valves out from like 35-year-old valves to modern new valves. He gave me a new line that I can run for my smart sprinkler system, the Irrigreen system. Every single sprinkler zone has its own little shut-off, so that's really cool. And we got dug down here under the dirt, which I've already covered up. There's a check valve down there so that water doesn't flow back into the house, which was a nice little upgrade. So you could do this yourself, dig all this out and put all this in. We had a professional do it for us. But at this point, from here, I'm going to go ahead and take, so with Irrigreen, I don't know what it's like with some of the other companies, but with Irrigreen, everything goes in one line. So if you have five heads, your main water line is going to come out and go out to the first valve, and the valve is the sprinkler head. And the computer system, like the wire that tracks it out there, controls the valve, the single valve right there. And once that runs, then the wire continues on to the next valve, and then to the next valve, and then to the next valve, however many that you have. So typically in a home, you've got multiple zones. So here in this home, I've got like 5 zones. But with Irrigreen, the way that I've mapped it out, because they can go into like a long way here and a short way there, I can actually shrink my zones down. So here in this house, I can get 4 zones, but it all starts here. So I go to zone 1 and then to zone 2, and then I trench at zone 3 and 4. Based on my calculations prior to getting the Irrigreen products in hand, I was sure that I could cover this entire area. But before I dig into the ground and lay pipe, I actually tested it out. So here's my Irrigreen sprinkler right here. You can see how big this thing is. I've got a couple of videos that I've made already on this. Look at this compared to my hand. It is enormous. And from the top of that Irrigreen head to the base of it, it's a full 12 inches. So to put this thing in the ground, you have to dig more than 12 inches into the ground to get that to be ground level. The entire valve mechanism is in there, and then the wire, see this black wire comes up. This is what my app on my phone, the controller, connects to this machine through that wire. Because this thing's so big, the holes and the trenches that you have to dig are substantial. So of course, I set it up above the ground to give it a test before digging. When you buy an Irrigreen system, again, it's going to be different for every other brand out there. But when you buy an Irrigreen system, it comes with this flex tube, which is a 1-inch tube. So that right there at the connection, it's a 3/4. It's a standard 3/4 connection. But the other end of the tube is a 1-inch. And the reason for that is they expect you to connect this to a larger PVC line, something that's going to feed a larger lawn space. So you get a 1-inch line. To test it above ground, I connected a 1-inch elbow that reduced down to a 3/4, and then I threw on a hose adapter. So I was able to use my hose there, connect it to my standard spigot, and stick it out there and test it in the lawn. Sure enough, based on my water pressure and my flow rate, I'm able to reach every square inch of this 1,000 square foot front lawn with one sprinkler head. Super duper cool. So this goes generally about right there. So from there, I'm able to reach all corners. I can map out a whole bunch of different points on the app to do all the curvatures so that it gets everything uniformly. I did have to stick the wire underneath here. It comes out. So I got my wire right there. This is going to be the water supply, which I have to connect to it. So one of my future videos is going to be about trenching through the lawn in the least offensive way possible to get out there. And then I got to trench this way. And then I'm going to do an entire video about how to run an irrigation line underneath a driveway or a sidewalk, because it is surprisingly easy. So that line is going to come through here, and I'm going to bring it over here. There's going to be a second head here, which is going to be able to cover this thing. So it's kind of cool about the Irrigreen system is that it's going to do a 360 around it, or you can do, if you put the head there, it can go out, over, it'll go all the way around. And then once it gets back to there, you can set 0 points to the center location. So it's going to go around, but it's not actually going to send out water because you've set it to a 0 point. And it's going to get all the way back to there, and then it's going to keep going around. So you can do a 180, or I don't even know what the smallest duration or the smallest arc pattern is, but it's certainly less than 180. Because the width of this is less than 10 feet, this is about 9.5 feet. I'm not going to set it in the middle. The shortest radius spray pattern is 5 feet, which would give me overspray on both sides. So I'm just going to do a 180 here. But the second head, which I've got right here, is going to go right here. And each one of these heads has 2 wires. So one wire goes into the head, and the other wire continues on to the next head. This is probably going to affect almost none of you out there, but for me in particular, the third head is going to be in the back of the house, which means from here I have to go all the way to the back. And we decided to stick a PVC pipe under here in the dirt and then cover it up with cement. This is because we just moved into the house and we're doing some house upgrades. We wanted pavement through this whole area so that we didn't have to worry about kind of like a muddy situation with our trash cans and whatnot. And we wanted a drain going down into the ground to take excess water out to the street. So I stuck a PVC pipe in the ground to run the water line and the cable to the backyard. And then I had a different company come out to do the concrete because I'm not qualified to do the concrete work. I'm not going to try it. But this second line is going to go all the way to the backyard. All under here. We're going to go through the fence. And right down here, kind of under all of this business, is the wire and the pipe, which I'm going to be able to use back here in the backyard. So that's going to be kind of the next phase of the project. I'm going to get the front yard working first. All right, here I am in my garage. I'm moving things around, but this is my traditional system that was run by Hunter. The Hunter box. What is this? I don't know. This is a Hunter box. This is a smart irrigation system, but it's a traditional one where the sprinkler heads all go around and you have a valve box over here controlling sprinkler heads over there. This is a great system and I've really liked it. However, this Irrigreen system, however you say it, Irrigreen, this is the one that's going to control a single head in the yard that's going to replace all of the individual sprinkler heads that this controls. And it still has all of those same internet smart capabilities that the Hunter system does. And because we have all of these options here, we can control individual zones just the way that this one does with traditional, just basic Rainbird, Hunter, Toro sprinkler heads, pop-up sprinkler heads. So we can do the fancy sprinkler heads or the traditional sprinkler heads with this, which makes it really cool. Sprinkler cable comes in, gets to the sprinkler head. It's got a Y. The next wire goes to the next head. So it goes 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, however many heads you have. I'm not going to be doing it in my yard, at least for the time being, but this thing can control master valves and a variety of standard valve systems. Right here, I've only got it set up to do just the main Irrigreen system. I'm going to continue using the Hunter for my standard valves because in the long run, in the future here on this Turp Mechanics channel, I literally want to compare how this system operates compared to this one. Both of them, I can install flow meters or, and this will control both, but these other smart irrigation boxes aren't going to be able to control both. But that's where me being a weirdo running a YouTube channel comes into play. For normal people, you're only going to have one or the other. I'd like to be able to check them side by side. Volume checks, where I can see how much water is coming through this into the irrigation box compared to this flow coming through this into the irrigation that this runs. Really excited about this. I did set this up and I ran it above ground a couple days ago before we put the concrete in, and I did a basic map of the front lawn, and it's really cool how it only sprays, what is that, about 12 feet here, but all the way to the back corner it's spraying about 25 feet. Like, it's just really cool. I am already noticing that there are some scenarios that this is not going to work out well because the way that it sprays, again, every company, every head's going to be different, but this particular one, so as you pull this up, you can see these larger holes on the top, kind of up in here versus down here. These larger holes are the ones that spray the furthest. Well, it's a large droplet size. Anything coming out of these is a large droplet size. So from here, it's going to spray way out there. So if large droplets are flying through the air fast and landing where there's no grass on the dirt, you're going to end up experiencing some erosion around here. So if I were to put grass seed here and try to use that Irrigreen sprinkler, it would constantly wash the grass seed away. So it's not going to be perfect for every lawn watering scenario. But once this lawn looks full and thick, kind of like this over here, or even my neighbor's yard, it's going to work perfectly fine. So for a scenario where you're seeding, I would not use this Irrigreen or anything else that's throwing water low to the ground on a high velocity. Like, you really need a high arc rainfall style or a fine mist. But that's really just for the seeding purposes. Once everything's filled in, I think this is going to be great for most lawns, certainly this lawn. There are a few other scenarios where this particular smart sprinkler system is not going to work well, and that's for areas like this. This is a thin, like, parkway strip, so any area where your width is very narrow, especially when it turns and curves and it's not straight. So if this was like straight and it just went on forever, you could stick something here and do a 180 and cover a very large radius. But because my parkway strip goes skinny, it's about 5 feet across, and then it turns the corner, I would need a lot of sprinklers to get good coverage here. And the cost of this system for each individual sprinkler is high. So for an area like that, you would have to use conventional sprinklers. And luckily the Irrigreen system controller does allow for the control of regular sprinkler heads, but if you're going to run regular sprinkler heads to a regular system, then you're going to need conventional sprinkler valves somewhere up near your house, just like you've had for the past like 30 years of your life. So anyway, we would call this a hybrid setup, where you've got the straight smart sprinkler Irrigreen control valve in the middle, and then you would have standard sprinkler heads in the weird areas of your lawn that need to be controlled differently. But anyway, I kind of wanted to show you this before I do all of the trench work and put my my trenching videos onto the YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're curious about all of that, but you don't have to really subscribe to this channel. If you are considering putting on a smart sprinkler of any kind, it doesn't have to be Irrigreen, then make sure to go down into the description below to see my smart sprinkler slash Irrigreen videos down there. I'm also going to put a link to the playlist of this installation process here up in the corner, so go ahead and take a look at that. These are expensive systems, they're expensive setups. Irrigreen has offered my viewers of this channel discounts. If you go down in the description, you can get free, like one free head with whatever system you're doing. I'll put a link down there. But even with that free head, the system is expensive. So you really have to know what you're getting yourself into before you get into this. And that's why I'm documenting every facet of this installation process as best as I possibly can.